I'm sure this has happened to you. A piece of information comes your way and your brain thinks, oh, I need to handle this right now or I'll forget. But that thought of I need to do it right now, it's not keeping you organized or more productive. It's actually keeping you overwhelmed. And today I'm going to share with you one powerful question that you can start using every single day to help you stay less overwhelmed and more focused. Now, the fact is, we live in a world where everything feels urgent, right? The text you haven't responded to, the emails piling up in the inbox, the thing that you just remembered right now that you need to do. It's all screaming at you like, we need to do this now. But here's the truth, most of it, probably 90% of it, maybe even more, doesn't actually need to happen right now. My name is Megan Sumrell. I am a productivity and time management expert for women. And one thing I know for certain is that women today are far more stressed out and overwhelmed than ever before. We are living in a constant state of information overload. And because of that, we're stuck treating everything like it's urgent, even when it isn't. Just yesterday, I caught myself doing this. I got a text about some forms that had to be filled out for an upcoming doctor's appointment that wasn't for another 10 days. And this text came through as I was in the middle of the reason I was on my phone, I was looking up a recipe because I was building out a list for the grocery store. And when that text came through, my immediate thought was, oh, I'll just do that check in and do those forms right now, even though I was in the middle of something else. And thankfully, I stopped myself. And I stopped myself by asking one key question. Does this need to happen right now? And since that appointment was for another 10 days, the answer was no. I did not need to get derailed. The reason why we get stuck responding in the moment very subtly is that we're convinced we're going to forget about it, right? So we tell ourselves a story of, oh, it's just easier if I do it now. Then it's not taking up mental space, right? What I want to go through today is we're going to be walking through two kind of scenarios where this plays out a lot. And then more importantly, how do we get to this point where we don't have to respond in the moment, but we're also not worried about forgetting things, all right? I'm going to introduce you to the most elegantly simple solution. The fact isn't always necessarily that we have too much to do, although I'm not saying that we don't, but the fact is that we're trying to fit everything into the right now category, right? This feeling of, I need to get it all done right now. And it's mathematically impossible for us to do that. So here's the question, the one question that you are going to learn to embrace in your life. And I'm going to show you what this looks like. You ready for it? Here it is. Does this have to be right now? It's as simple as that. All right. Not, can I do it right now? Instead, does this have to be right now? So let's talk through example number one. Let's say you're working away, you don't have your notifications turned off, and an email pops in, right? And it derails you. You stop, you look at the email, and that email means that you're going to have to get into action. In the moment, you need to ask yourself, does this email deserve real estate in my life right now? Meaning, is there a negative consequence? Is there a time sensitive deadline if I don't stop what I'm doing and respond to this email? Now, if the answer is yes, feel free to go ahead and handle it. But more often than not, the answer is no. It does not need to disrupt what you are currently doing. But again, we're inclined to handle it right now because we think, oh, I'll just do it while I'm in the moment, even though now you've completely ruined your focus on what you were working for. Instead, if the answer is a no, what you're going to do with your email is you need to figure out where is your system or your one central place that you are going to keep emails that you will need to come back and refer to later, but they're not sitting there yelling at you from your inbox. All right. So maybe you create a folder that you move them into. Maybe you just leave the emails in an unread status until you respond to them. Maybe you actually write a note to yourself in your plan for the week of when you're going to handle that specific task. But the point is, it needs to move to a bin or a holding place for when you're going to do it later. Because if we don't have that little repository of where to put that information, that's what takes up that mental real estate of, oh, I don't want to forget about it. I don't want to forget about it. And since we don't have a system in place of where it goes, that's what leads us to wanting to jump into action and handling things that are now, again, stepping us away from what we're working on. Another example that can happen a lot is when we have those thoughts or ideas or those things that we remember, right? Maybe you're in the middle of a different task and all of a sudden you have this, oh my gosh, I totally remember I got to order that thing on Amazon. Or, oh, I forgot what that quote was. Who said that quote? Let me go look that up right now, right? These little things, these little distractions that pop up in our brain. And if we don't put that question in place, the does this have to be right now? If we don't have that filter, what happens again is we start context switching. We start acting like a pinball in a pinball machine, and we're going all over the place to kind of chase that new shiny object because what we're saying to ourselves is, I don't want to forget about it. So the best way to not forget about it is to stop what I'm doing and then go ahead and do this other thing. But when we learn to ask the question, does this need to happen right now? When those little random thoughts pop up, most of the time the answer is no. But in order for this to work and in order for you to quiet that mental desire to handle it right now, you need a place where you can capture all of those ideas or the rememberings or, oh, when I have time, I need to do whatever it is. You need to have a place to put all of those so that when the time comes where you have some open space, you can go back and look at that and say, okay, yeah, I've got a free 30 minutes. Now I want to go tackle all those little things that were trying to derail me earlier. For me, I love to do this in my one notebook. My one notebook system is something I've been using for years. We've taught, I think, close to 20,000 women now, the one notebook system. But if I have that idea pop in my head, or the thing I need to quickly remember, I just jot it down right there in my notebook. Now, in order for the one notebook system to work, you also need to have a thing in place where you're going back through your notebook. So that's something I do every single week. I go back and look at all the things I jotted down, and then they get their permanent home, potentially in my plan for next week, or potentially in a 1 hour block of time to just knock all of those little things out. But the key here is it doesn't derail your day. It doesn't pull you away from what you were currently doing that may be time sensitive to handle something that did not need to happen right now. And again, the reason we feel like we're always having to do it right now is because we're worried we'll forget. And we're worried we'll forget because we don't have that underlying system to capture all those little things that require our time eventually, but not right now. And so once we get that system in place, now we get to ask ourselves that question. Does this need to happen right now? This is not about getting things, done more quickly. It's about being more intentional with your time in the moment. It's about allowing yourself to not get distracted and pulled in 10 different directions, right? You sit down to create that grocery list. Next thing you know, it's an hour later. You've looked up 3 other things. You've answered the form. Maybe you've cleaned out your Tupperware cabinet and you still don't have the grocery list done. It's because we're feeling this pull to handle all the things that we're thinking about in the right now. This is not a mindset hack. This is a system. We have to put the system in place that allows us to capture all the little things that pop up in our brain that can allow us to say, not right now, I'm staying focused on what I'm doing. Our goal is to get away from everything is urgent to a place where we say, I decide what's urgent. We get to go away from, oh, forget it if I don't do it right now, to, nope, I've got a system that captures it. Instead of feeling overwhelmed by everything, you get to feel really clear and purposeful on what matters right now. So here's your homework. I want you to start asking yourself in the moment, does this deserve real estate right now, right? Is this a I have to do it right now? And when you find yourself recognizing that the answer is no, then you get to determine what your capturing system's going to be. Perhaps you want to institute the one notebook system that I teach. Maybe you want to send yourself a voice reminder on your phone because you use those a lot, right? There are a lot of different ways that this can play out. But in order for this to be truly successful, is you will need to establish that one place where all the things that are popping up in your mind that don't need to be right now go to live so that you get to decide when you want to get them done. And if you want more information about this one notebook system, go ahead and check out the link below. We've got a link sharing all that information there. And if you want to learn more about how to build a planning system that works for the realities of your life, I talk about it and share tips about it all the time right here on this channel. So if you haven't already, make sure to subscribe so that you don't miss any future videos.